Alright everybody, how yous doing? Hope yous are all good. Um, Hope yous enjoyed that uh, video with Jerry last night, man. Had me and Stitches talking about that old cellmate of his. What, man? Bonkers. It just shows you this is the type of people that you have to mix with in prison. You've not got a choice, do you know? Doesn't matter what bit of the prison you're in, you're always going to come across people like this, do you know, it's not a nice place, especially when it's not the big brother house, you can't go down, press the front door bell and say, do you know what, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here, know what I mean? Um, so today I want to talk about something a bit different, right? Now, some of you are probably not going to be interested in this type of talk, but I was having bad nightmares last night, right? Violent ones, prison ones, where I was being attacked with a knife um, by somebody who had been in for several murders, right? Now, this was a book that I've been reading, um, and the way that you might be thinking, how does this connect? If you've never met this person was convicted in England, right? But he's a foreign national, convicted of some horrendous murders, ritualistic murders, serial type killings, right? And you might be thinking, how does this all connect to you? And I'll get into that. Um, but this video I want to do about like trauma because like Jerry had referred to it last night and saying how he felt he had a good kind of upbringing and all that, right? And I'm not going to lie, I don't feel my upbringing was that bad, right? Had a lot of ups and downs, a lot of heartache, but it's sometimes it just makes me wonder, am I just putting a good face on all this shit? Because I'm very good at hiding my emotions, and I know how I'm good at hiding them was because I remember as being a kid, right? I was so sensitive, man. Like I could cry for the least wee thing you said to me. Um, I used to like. I remember watching like Walt Disney films and like as a young kid, primary school age, 5, 6, and just crying at them and shit like that. But as I got older and the more negative situations, adverse situations that I went through, it was like there was a suit of armour getting over that part of me. Um, and as I've said on some other videos, like I remember I would see so say I'd see a movie, right, when I was a kid, because like obviously there's like classified movies like 18 and all that shit, but like nobody stopped me from watching like maced films. And if I seen a film that involved drug use, I used to see a character in a movie using drugs, whether they were using the drugs or withdrawn from drugs, and either way they were in a mess, right? And I just remember lying in my bed at night thinking that was my dad and just crying until my pillow was like a fucking swimming pool. And I never told them any of this shit until I started like writing for my degree, going on Ricky's podcast, Sean's doing this. I've never told them all this shit because before it didn't tie in with my self image. Back then I was all about the world can be cruel, I'll be crueler. I will show you the meaning of cruel. And I felt like I was going to build this indestructible image, indestructible persona. Nothing got to me. Um, Whereas really I was just insecure and full of fucking pain and trauma. Like, obviously, is when I said staying with my biological mum at the age of 11, 12. Now, this is a brief period, right, man? I've done jail sentences bigger than this, but that was the scariest time in my life as a child. And I hear people saying in policy circles and academic circles, trauma informed, right? And I'm not gonna lie, I'm just sitting going, rolling my eyes, right? But I'm starting to wonder, do I need to change my attitude towards trauma? And I'm no downing anybody else's trauma at all. I'm talking about myself, because whether you think I'm a scumbag or I've done evil shit, like, I would have agreed with you back then, and I would have took it as a compliment. That's just me being honest with you. And I'll give you an example of that. I remember one time I assaulted somebody in the young offenders, right? And in my parole report, a prison officer wrote, "Chris expressed remorse." I was livid he said that about me. Absolutely livid, because showing remorse was anathema to how I viewed myself. But other people's pain weighs heavier on me than my own. And I think both of them kind of compounding, and what I mean by that is I can deal with my own, but see, like, seeing shit other people went through, people I care about, people I love, reading the papers and seeing some woman, some mum's fucking son has been beat to death, stabbed to death, and you know her life's just ruined. And you're just sitting thinking, man, I could have done that to somebody could have done that to my family, do you know what I mean? So, this is where all this shit ties in. So, I want to kind of read something, obviously, because it helps kind of with the discussion of it, right? So, I've just like, so a definition of trauma would be, trauma is when we experience very stressful, frightening, or distressing events that are difficult to cope with or out of our control. It could be one incident or an ongoing event that happens over a long period of time. Most of us will experience an event in our lives that could be considered traumatic, but we won't all be affected the same way. My point, exactly. Trauma can happen at any age, and it can affect us at any time, including a long time after the event has happened. So, trauma can include events where you feel frightened, under threat, humiliated, rejected, abandoned, invalidated. For example, your feelings or views have been dismissed or denied. Unsafe, unsupported, trapped, ashamed, powerless. Right? Now, I could probably tick every one of the boxes there, man. And that's just me being fucking real. Like, because as I've said, I'm just starting to kind of work through all this. Like, I'm not gonna lie, when I was doing my degree, right, and I was writing about all this shit, I was like, I've sorted this, I'm going to go into the world and be a fucking upstanding citizen and go to university, but I was full of good intentions, but that didn't happen. Now I'm dealing with different issues, do you know? But ways trauma can happen include one-off or ongoing events, being directly harmed or neglected, witnessing harm to someone else, living in a traumatic atmosphere, being affected by trauma in a family or community, including trauma that has happened before you were born. So pretty kind of wide ranging, like kind of shit, do you know? And obviously, like I'm not going to lie, I know people who went through much worse shit than me. They've told me, and I'm not going to lie, right? I'm good at shutting things out, like too good at it sometimes, and it can come across as cold, detached. But to me, if that's what you want to see in somebody like me, you will see that. I think it's called a confirmational bias. If you've already made up your mind about somebody or a situation and you see something that supports that, that's the fucking theory you've got to run with. But when you think of all the shit like I've done in my life and I've went through, right? Obviously, as Jerry said last night, we've been victims of crime, but I'll never say that. I don't think he would mean it that way, like he's a victim, but what we mean is almost everybody who becomes a criminal, a predator, whatever, and listen, I'm no sticking up for anybody here. As somebody said, you get your karma. But I was a victim of knife crime before I became a perpetrator of knife crime. Now, as Jerry said yesterday, that fear factor, he's gonna get me, so I'm gonna get him first. Crossed wires, right? And this is the thing about prison, I don't know how many times I've seen that, man. Somebody who had an idea in their head that somebody else was out to get them and just done horrific violence on them. One of the guys I know really, really well went through all the young offenders with him, or through the adult system as well. And the trauma, the shit this boy went through in his life, like, in my opinion, it completely dwarfed anything that I ever knew. Which is not to try and invalidate my own shit, but I'm really bad for that, like saying, oh, it wasn't that bad. Maybe it was, do you know what I mean? But it's what I heard somebody on the violence course say. If you and everybody you know put all your problems into one pot, he says, and you could pick somebody else's problems to have, he said you'd probably just take your own back, like fuck, I'm lucky. In a lot of ways, I'm a lucky boy because obviously, as I explained, like, I was classed as like irredeemable back when I was like 21, right? And that was around about the age I started I felt a subtle change in my mind, my thinking, my behaviour, all that shit, right? Even though I'd went to jail, I still felt that way. I thought, I need to pull myself out of this somehow, and I used education, then fatherhood. But recently, like, when I've been talking about shit, like, it's like I'm there. It's like a movie playing in your mind. Like an overhead projector you can't switch off, right? And I'm talking about other people's trauma, not necessarily my own, right? Because a lot of it, I think, brought on myself, fuck's sake, know what I mean? Some of the things that happened to us, like, as a young man with knives and violence, all that shit, right? But as I mentioned before, like, because obviously, like, I've read a lot of kind of true crime cases, and then as I was started my academic studying, I wasn't just reading true crime books, I was reading like actual official paperwork, profiling reports, police reports for online, because you're doing academic shit, and if you're doing criminology, it's like the only thing you've no got is fucking pathology, autopsy photos, right? So it tells you all you need to know. And for somebody that's as deep as me and as analytical as me, like, when I'm reading some of this shit, it's as if I can see it fucking happening in my brain. And it's horrendous, man. I'll give you an example of that, right? See, I wake up in the middle of the night a lot. Like, I don't have a whole sleep. And my nightmares come and go, right? And as I'd mentioned before, a particular case for Scotland, limbs in the lock, right? When I had read what happened to that poor guy in that book, and like online and all that, it was as if I was standing watching this happen. And I'm not gonna lie, man, like, it's it's really playing in my brain. It's affecting my brain, being able to see it that in depth. You're not just reading about it as words in a newspaper article, because it reminds me of a programme. Um, it's on Netflix or something. It's called Mindhunter. Now, I'd read all these books as a YO, Thomas Harris books, and the guy's actually on the spectrum. And the funny thing is, 3 different prisons that I have been in, 3 different members of staff, 3 people who don't know each other, said to me, I think you've got traits of Asperger's, right? I'm not trying to get a diagnosis or nothing, I'm just stating what's been said. One of them, her son or her daughter, has Asperger's. And also the funny thing is, my son's on the spectrum. And in this programme, this guy's like investigates fucking just horrific shit. And it's like he's there seeing it happen. And that was how I felt with that case, man. It was, oh, what, man. And in the video, I didn't even explain how, I didn't want to explain in depth what happened to him. You can read it for yourself. You want to look it up, buy the book, whatever. But in case, obviously, maybe a relative, a distant relative, a family member had ever seen that video, like, I don't want to be causing them any more shit, know what I mean? And last night, somebody had commented on the video, right? Nae harm to them, but I had woke up for that nightmare. And I don't know why I always do this, right? I always check my phone just in case somebody's try to phone me or message me and it's important. I imagine a lot of people do this. And that comment was on my notifications. And I didn't even read the fucking comment. I didn't want to read it because what came up was the thumbnail of the limbs in the lock case. And I was just like, holy fuck me, man. Like, so it's just fucking, there's just so much fucking evil in the world for somebody to get satisfaction out of doing that to somebody, man. And if there was ever a candidate for the Glasgow send-off, he's it. It might sound a bit harsh, but karma, you know. And this is what I'm saying, like, with people that are close to me and being close to me, it's like I'm just envisioning their trauma in my brain as well. And I'm just putting a brave face on it, man. Like, you'll be alright. You're not alright, man. And I'm not alright. But, sometimes it's like, I just think to myself, if I stop and think about it, this is the state I'm going to be in, the state I'm in the now a wee bit. Like, fucking gut churning, fucking, it's like a record playing in your brain, you're walking through it. And the funny thing is, right, for the past maybe 8 years, right, there was been some talk that I had complex PTSD, right? Now, the first person who suggested it was my parole officer, a guy who I'd known since the age of 17, right up to 2019, right? No other social worker would work with me apart for this guy, right? For reasons, because I just was always, the way you see some people who are anti-authority, I was like this with social workers, because I felt like they were always making out they were being nice to me, but what they were really doing was trying to fuck me over. Maybe in some cases it was real, in other ones it was imagined. But it was my experience of them. So I was just telling them all with the same brush. But he'd said that when I was telling him, I walk out the door and I feel like I'm on battle ready mode constantly, man. But back then nothing had really been happening. This was before I had my son. And I was like, a couple of times I remember locking myself in fucking toilet cubicles, right? I'd be in a restaurant, a pub, and I would just feel it, this big wave coming over me, man. This big flood of fucking cortisol or something. It's like a mad chemical in your body. It's like a panic station. So imagine you were in a room building situation and you felt threatened. Imagine how you would feel, right? That's how I felt a lot. And he's like, I think you've got that complex PTSD or blah blah blah. But I was always one of the ones, nah, I'm alright. I've no minimising it. And then when I got out this time, I referred myself to my doctor, not because I was having a lot of the same feelings. And I spoke to a psychiatric nurse, and she said, when I explained my symptoms, she said, that sounds like complex PTSD, right? She says, I'm going to send you the assessment tool. She says, I'm not qualified to administer this, but it will give me an indication of what's going on with you, right? So, any disorder, most psychiatric disorders, there's a specific assessment tool. Now, I can't mind the name for the one for PTSD, but I remember the one for psychopathy is called PCLR, as I explained in a previous video, right? And you've got a one called LSCMI that's used in prison as well. I can't mind what it stands for, but and I received the PTSD assessment. It's like fucking, it's like it's like questions, and you just tick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, always, sometimes, never, often, all that shit. So I sent her it back. She says, the cut-off point, right, is 30 points. So if you get 30 points or more, you're classed as PTSD, complex PTSD. She says, many points jink you got. I done that. I said like 25, 28 or something. She said you got 73. I was like, what? 73, man. But I went through it with, I went through treatment and all that. But it did help, talking about a lot of shit, but there's not enough done to help people with trauma in our country now, because I know people who are getting counselling for shit, and it's like 6 weeks block of counselling, 6 fucking weeks. You need about 6 years, man. You fucking kidding me? Absolute fucking horse shit. don't know how they've even got jobs, some of them, if that's, oh, it's funding, it's money, we'll fucking do something about the funding, the money then. You've got fucking funding to build fucking more jails or whatever, like, do you want to lock more people up or help more people get better? I don't know. Obviously, there's a lot of people in jail need to be in jail for public protection and all that, but I heard one prison governor say, we need to use prisons for people who we're scared of, not people who we're angry with. Do you know what I mean? So like jailing somebody for stealing an apple because it's his fifth time, whatever. Obviously that I didn't read that anywhere, I just made that up off the top of my head, you know. Like there's some people you can get through to, and trust me, see if I'm sitting here talking to you, man, there's got to be hope for a lot of people, because I thought change was a sign of weakness. I would never have admitted or even fathomed that I would be sitting here 20 years after my index offence talking about my offences on the fucking YouTube. I would have been like, not a chance. Do you know what I mean? So it just shows you. And my wee boy's going through a lot with his mum no being there. And they said he needed counselling and all that. But he got it for like fucking 6 weeks. Now it's done, 5 weeks or something. And my worst fear is history repeating itself, because my own dad died when I was in high school, second year I was. And I just thank God that I'm here for him now. Do you know what I mean? Because there was nothing worse than being locked up and being away for your kid. Even though it was 2 weeks before he was born. I remember one time he told me he was getting bullied. I was in Kilmarnock, and I found out after it when he left that visit he was crying. No, I'd never experienced that before or heard about that, and that was fucking heart wrenching, man. And I phoned my Wayne's man and says, you better get the parents to help, or I'll be telling them when I come out. That's just how fucking raging I was, man. And it was a controlled rage. It wasn't effing blind and shouting down the phone. It was just a firm tone. Tell them, get it dealt with, or because see if you were coming to me tell me the same shit about my kid, I would be dealing with it. And that's a lot of trauma for kids as well today, is bullying, innit? Some it's a lot worse than others, do you know what I mean? But fucking shite. And I think sometimes people do try and tease him a lot, but he's starting to handle it better, he's starting to carry himself better and all that, and I think that's a lot to do with me being there for him and him doing his self-defence and all that shit. He's not a scared wee boy anymore, man. He was like fucking hiding in his shell when I got out of jail. Didn't leave the fucking street. And he stayed in a small street. I'm talking about a cul-de-sac, 4 houses, 5 houses in it. He wouldn't leave that street. And now he's out fucking... he's just out playing all the time and being a wee boy. Do you know what I mean? It's shite when they go to high school, because before, when he was in primary school, he was always wanting to fall asleep to Home Alone, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Diary of a Wimpy Kid. And now when I go in his fucking room at night, he's lying on his phone watching mad videos and all, and I'm just like, fucking hell, man, like, where's my wee boy? Know what I mean? But I hope this wasn't too morbid for yous, but that's just me poking fun at myself again. I like to do that. I don't like, because I think a lot of people think I'm dead serious, not, and in a lot of ways I'm dead serious, especially if I don't know you, because I'm always trying to figure out, are you here to hurt me or are you here to be my pal? That kind of deal. And that's for experience. It's not because I'm a cunt. Know what I mean? It's just my experience of a lot of people, most people that I've came across in my life, do you know what I mean? So I try and keep the good people around me and keep the bad people away, you know? But I'm going to come and do another couple of videos about notorious cases of people that I'd came across in jail, but I wanted to come on there today because I was meant to go to my jiu-jitsu class, right, and I actually left with my stuff and I just turned back because I'm not going to lie, like I wasn't feeling up to it today, man. And I did push myself. I was like, fuck it, get down there, man, and then got out, got ready, walked like a couple of 100 yards down the road and thought, something's just telling me not to go here. My gut, I don't know. And this is what I'm saying, like, I have bad days as well, know what I mean? But hope yous are all having a good day, and hope yous like that video with my Jerry, man. Fucking he could tell you stories for years, but I want to start, like, as I've said before, getting more people on it. Like, a guy emailed me who was an ex-prison officer, and he was saying he wanted to have a conversation in that, so I'm going to try and set that up soon. Obviously I'm just winging it. I fucking see how long it took me to figure out how to screen record and all this. Bollocks, man, because I don't know what to do, who to ask. I'm just like, no, what, I'll figure it out myself, man. But I'm getting there, and I'm progressing, if you want to say that. But as I've said, I want to get like I want to do a lot more of that, speaking to people about their own experiences, not just sitting talking about my own shit all the time, because sooner or later, man, the well's going to be dry, innit? I was saying to somebody, see the amount of shit I forgot. Like, somebody asked me, when I was talking about the time I get stabbed in the eye after this idiot, this lassie messaged me and she's like, do you not remember that time fucking there was an axe or something involved? It wasn't him using it, but I think it was either me or her, I don't know. And she said, how do you not remember that? And I was like, I was fucking probably at my tree, man, with fucking swedges or something. Just, I don't remember everything, do you know what I mean? But I try, do you know what I mean? Because some of it is funny and some of it is fucking hair raising. No mine hair, obviously. But I'm got to go now. Got to go and speak to a boy that I was in with. He does drug work and that now. He's out on licence. Knew him for shots. He's alright, turned his life around and that. So got to go and get a wee chat with him, man. It's good to talk to people that are on the other side now. They're no still fucking engaging with criminality or drug taking, whatever, do you know. So hope you all have a good day, and I'll probably be back on tomorrow, so take care, peace out.